Millions of women have spent their lives trying to become the Proverbs 31 woman.
She has been called the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect homemaker.
For some, she's an inspiration. For others, she's become an impossible standard. She's expected to wake before sunrise, manage a flawless home, raise children, support her husband, care for the poor, run a business, and somehow do it all with a smile. For many, this chapter has become less of an inspiration and more of a source of quiet guilt. But what if that was never the point? What if one of the most quoted passages in the Bible has been misread for centuries, not because of bad intentions, but because of a translation choice made 400 years ago? The answer starts with two Hebrew words, esht chayil. Most English Bibles translate this as a virtuous woman. It sounds gentle, domestic, soft. But chayil doesn't mean soft. Look at how the word is used everywhere else in the Old Testament, and a different picture appears. It's the word used for mighty warriors, for armies, for wealth, force, and exceptional ability. So when the poem opens with the question, who can find an eshet chayil? It isn't asking who can find a good, quiet wife.
It's asking something much bigger. Who can find a woman of strength, of courage, of capability rare enough to be worth more than jewels?
That single word changes the entire tone of everything that follows. To understand why this word was chosen, we have to leave the 21st century behind. This is roughly 3,000 years ago. There were no supermarkets, no factories. A household wasn't just a place to live, it was the entire economy. Every meal, every garment, every trade deal depended on the labor of the people inside those walls. And at the center of that enterprise stood this woman. She isn't described as sitting still. Verse by verse, she is in constant motion, evaluating, deciding, building. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. Read that again. She doesn't just tend a field someone gave her. She evaluates it, negotiates for it, buys it, then turns it into a working vineyard with her own capital. That's not a housewife's chore list. That's a land acquisition. A few verses later, she sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. This is a merchant tracking margins. And then, she makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She isn't sewing clothes for her family to wear. She's manufacturing goods and supplying other merchants, wholesale. By any modern definition, this woman is a landowner, a vintner, a trader, and a manufacturer, all inside the same 11 verses. Here's what most retellings of this passage leave out. Proverbs 31 doesn't open with a description. It opens with a memory, the words of King Lemuel, an inspired utterance his mother taught him. This entire portrait, one of the most detailed descriptions of a woman anywhere in the Bible, was not written by a man observing from a distance. It was taught to a son, by his mother, as instruction on what kind of person to look for, and what kind of person to become. Which means the most famous checklist ever used against women was originally a mother's blueprint for her son, wisdom passed from a woman's voice to a king's ear, then written into the closing words of an entire book. That reframes everything that comes next. Proverbs 31 isn't a standalone poem tucked randomly into scripture. It's the final chapter of a book that spends 30 chapters asking one question. What does wisdom actually look like? Lived out? Throughout Proverbs, wisdom itself is personified as a woman, calling out in the streets, inviting people to walk in her ways. Does not wisdom call out? Does not understanding raise her voice? By the final chapter, that abstract idea stops being abstract. Wisdom becomes a person, doing ordinary things, buying land, running a household, closing a deal, feeding the poor. Notice, too, what the poem does not open with. Not her looks, not her rank, not her beauty. The heart of her husband safely trusts her. Trust comes first. Everything else, the vineyard, the trade, the household, flows out of that foundation, not the other way around. Near the end, the poem delivers its most famous line, the one embroidered on more kitchen walls than almost any other verse in the Bible. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Most people know this line. Fewer people notice what it's actually doing at the end of a chapter obsessed with capability. After 20 verses cataloging land deals, trade profits, and manufacturing, the poem doesn't end by saying that's how you become impressive. It ends by saying none of that is actually the point. The vineyard, the linen, the wealth, all of it was never the measure. It was the evidence of something else. A life oriented around something more durable than appearance or achievement. That's the twist inside the twist. This isn't a poem building toward be more productive. It's a poem using productivity to point somewhere else entirely. So maybe the right question was never, am I doing everything the Proverbs 31 woman did? Maybe it's this. Is there wisdom shaping the way I build, work, give, and live? Because the woman in this poem was never remembered for achieving perfection.
She was remembered because a mother thought her son deserved to know what that kind of life looked like,
and wrote it down so it would outlast both of them. 3,000 years later, it still has.